I'm Bob. I like coffee. I also like to tell stories. So here at the Bobcast Coffee, it's time for a coffee break. So take a coffee break with me and pour yourself a cup of your favorite Joe. By the time you're done with your coffee, you'll know something about me you really didn't need to know. But you'll have fun learning it. Just remember, my stories are true. For the most part.
This episode was brought to you by JM Insurance. JM Insurance. Do you have business, personal, or life insurance yet? Contact JM Insurance Agency to understand the benefits of insuring against the unforeseen circumstances of life. We have over 40 years of experience in the business and will guide with the best probable choice for your situation. Call us for more information at 405-353-0140 or visit our website at jminsurance.agency.
Okay, before we start today's video, I want to point out one thing. Last video, we were talking about the Mount Training School there at Fort Ord, California. Well, I didn't find a really decent picture of that Mount School. Well, while looking for pictures for this episode, I came across this picture. And I figure, even with this guy standing in the middle of it, it's kind of cool to actually look at the place that we were at. Now, I think a couple of the building pictures I had in the last one were the locations. Mainly that main square building where we did the rappelling. But this is kind of cool. So I thought you might like to see that. Now let's get on with the show. All right, still sitting here enjoying my coffee. We've done episode 64, which is bar fights at Fort Ord. We've done episode 65, which is about the mount training at Fort Ord. And now, the dumbest thing, well, at least for this 2 weeks that I was at Fort Ord, this is the dumbest thing I've ever done. But, because I've done a lot of dumb things. But for National Guard training at Fort Ord, here's where it maxes out. So episode 66, what not to do with a Humvee. All right. Grab yourself some coffee, sit back. We're going to take a break and listen to dumb stories of Bob. Remember, at Fort Ord, I was not with my company. My company was in Germany, having a lot of fun. And in the 80s, right? This is before the wall came down. So, or right at it. It was in that time period. Anyway, they were out there having fun. I'm at Fort Ord. Nice enough weather, but with a bunch of people I don't know. And we're playing with the tow company. So I do know the tow gun system. So it's a tube-launched, optically sighted, wire-guided missile. So we're doing this our 2-week summer camp, and we're doing it all out in the field. So we checked out all our gear. You know, we came in, slept the first night in the barracks, checked out everything, and went to the field, and we've been there ever since. So we finished the mount training, and we went to a simulator site for tow guns. And it was pretty cool. I mean, it wasn't like, you know, simulators where you sit in, put your VR goggles on, and, you know, do all that. This is the 80s. Really? So you sat in this building, it wasn't a big building, in this building, and you put your head up against your tow sight, right? So you got your tow missile sit it in a simulated half of a, back of a Jeep, basically, and you can grab the system and you can turn it like this. Well, what you're looking at when you're looking through that eyepiece, they've built a model of a battlefield. So you've got roads and trees and buildings out there, but they're all models. So even though you're inside a building, when you're looking through here, you can tell it's a model, but it's really good. And then they crank on the power, and like a train track city, right? They would have tanks, little model tanks, getting pulled through the road or down the road, so you could track on that tank. And the size of the tank and where it was gave you a proportion to how far away it was. Do you take the shot? Do you not? Tow guns can shoot a long way, but they are limited. Once that wire runs out, that missile goes wild, and you don't want that. So you want to always take your shot in range. It was a really cool day. So the next day, we're going to go and attack a tank convoy. So once again, Miles gear. So we've actually got lasers for our tow guns. And what they do, and we're not fighting tanks. We're going to fight a bunch of Jeeps. And they're not Hummers, and we've got the Hummers. Hummers are just coming out, so not everybody has it. They just have standard Jeeps like they had all the time before. But each Jeep has a big sign on it with a number, and that number is what tank number they are. And they've got targets on it, so if you shoot your tow gun, right, it's going to happen a lot faster than a real tow missile. Tow missiles, you should be able to get 2 shots off in 17 seconds. So that's fire, guide the missile in, hit the target, get the next round, lock and loaded, and fire off again. And then you should be able to do that in 17 seconds. And, hopefully get 2 hits. Because after your second shot, you should be in range of a tank. You've got slightly a lead on them. But after 2 shots, they should have moved into range. You need to be getting out of there. You don't have armor. You're just standing there on the back of a Hummer. So shoot and move. So what they do is they've got this out in the back of Fort Ord. They've got all these, it's bluffs and valleys, and they've got this road system in between these valleys. So a road coming in from the north, road coming up from the south, hit a 3-way intersection, and then it goes off down the valley, and all these bluffs are around it. So what we do is we set up down the road going away from the intersection. Up in the bluffs, they park all the Hummers at the bottom of these bluffs, and then they hoof all the equipment up to the top, and they set up this kill zone. You get a whole flipping platoon of tows. You're not going to gun and move. You're going to wipe out a whole bunch of tanks real fast. Now, they look at the young lieutenant, and they say, Butterbar, I want you to take your Hummer. I want you to go back to that road intersection, find a bluff, get up on it, and when the last tank gets out of there, call in field artillery. Now, we're not going to have any field artillery actually coming in, but we make the call, and for the field artillery to start at that spot, we're going to have to plot it on the map and move it down the road toward the back end of all these tanks. So not only are they going to be attacked by the tow guns shooting them from the ridges. They're also going to be having field artillery come out, and we can take our tow gun and take out the last tank. And that'll put a roadblock so they won't have an escape route. It's actually a pretty good, pretty basic, but a pretty solid, plan. So I've got my 4 guys. So I've got my RTO, I've got the tow gunner, the assistant tow gunner, and the driver, and myself. So it's a crowded Hummer, but we got it. And we go driving up there, and we park, and we look around, and there's I'm going to call it a road for lack of a better name, but it's like a wash going straight up. If we were in anywhere today where, crazy people on motorcycles and stuff like that want to drive up and test their skill at how, steep they can go, this would have been a great place. Straight up. So I've got everybody breaking down the tow gear, and they're going up along the side of this thing where there's scrub brush and stuff that they can get footing, and they're going up there. It's not easy, but they can get up there. They can set that tow right up there on the edge, camouflage it some, right? And we'll be in a great spot. So everybody's getting up and going. And I look over at my RTO, my radio telephone operator, and I go, hey, come on, let's go. Break down your gear. Let's take it up. And he goes, I can't do it. I go, why not? Just grab your battery packs. Let's go. We'll call, field artillery from up there. And he's looking at me like, I go, what? He goes, I didn't get any batteries. I don't have any batteries. You didn't check out batteries? You got one job. Keep that radio going. He goes, I didn't think we would need it. You have to have batteries to operate the radio if the radio is not connected to the Hummer. We need the radio to call in field artillery and let the rest of the company know that the last tank has finished, has passed its point, and they can start the ambush. We have to have that radio up on top of the ridge. He goes, this guy, he just didn't have a clue. And I am just tired, haven't slept, really well. Officers never got sleep. And I said, well, take this Hummer and you get it on top of that ridge. And he looked up he goes, no. All right. I can't blame him for saying that. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna blow up. And I kick him out of the thing. And I say, grab the radio. Oh, it won't work. Get the radio to the top. I'll get the car up there. Or the Hummer up there. And I back it off away from this, bluff. And I'm like, I'm so mad I'm not thinking straight. And I just pop it, and I get up as much speed as I can, and I just start going up the side of this hill. Everybody stops wherever they are, and everybody just panic looks, because I'm zooming by these guys that are carrying up, all the tow equipment and stuff like that. At one point, the front wheels start to bounce like this. It give you a better view like this. And I don't know if I'm going to flip over backwards or not. I feel like I'm driving straight up. I can't be. Okay, even a Hummer not going to do this. Not as far as that. It was a washed out road, but it had to have been around 70 degrees, which is stupid to try to drive. But I'm pushing it, and I'm pushing it. And the guys, I don't know. I think my eyes were closed by this time. When I hit the top, they said the wheels came off and the Hummer just sort of flat popped over. I can't tell you from where I was if all four wheels left the ground as it came up the top or just barely made it over. All I know is I really needed to change my pants after this. I got about halfway up this slope. I'm at the point of no return, and my brain starts screaming, "What are you doing?" You can't stop. If I stop, I'm going to roll backwards anyway. The only thing I've got is to finish out. So I get it up there. Boom. And these guys are all like, okay, Lieutenant's cool. No, Lieutenant is cleaning his pants off in the scrub brush up there. I am absolutely, my brain is gone. So I've got a corporal in the gun crew there. And basically, he's gonna, yeah, you tell him when to call in, figure this out. My brain's gone. But I've got an RTO. He gets his radio up there. He can put it back into the Hummer. The guys set up the tripod. They set up the tow gun for ground mount. And they kind of camouflage everything. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. We are so far up here. How are they gonna see anything? So yeah, we've got stuff camouflaged. The Hummer's a little off the ridge, so it can't be seen. RTO's sitting in there, and we're just hollering back what we want him to call in. So we're calling everything in. And all these Jeeps start showing up and coming up to that intersection. They start making the turn, and we can see all the big numbers. And we see the last one coming up. And we're like, we got this. This is good. But we're not sitting there in the camouflage. We're actually sitting on the ridge with our feet hanging over the side, drinking out of our canteens, smoking cigarettes, and calling in field artillery on these guys. Well, we're being stupid. So the guys down in the Jeeps go, hey, look, there's some people up there being stupid. So they cut two of their Jeeps and they come after us. But what we don't know is there's actually a road that goes up and around the back side of this bluff and comes out on the other side of the top. And they take off. And next thing we know, we've got two Jeeps coming around the edges. So there's like a 10-foot, 15-foot section all the way around the edges where the scrub brush isn't. But the scrub brush is all over the top. Now, when I say scrub brush, I'm saying mesquite. This is wild growing mesquite up there. And if you've ever played with mesquite, it's tough. So we've got these two Jeeps coming in on us like this, and we're not locking and unloading. We're just throwing everything into the Hummer as fast as we can. And I tell the driver, just cut down the middle. There's a road over there somewhere. We'll find it. And as those Jeeps come up where we were, we start shooting out across all this mesquite. This is tell you how tough a Hummer really is. I don't know about today's Hummers that you buy at the store, but I will tell you, the military Hummers were tough. We were smashing through this mesquite and making all sorts of racket and noise. And as we would pass, that mesquite would stand back up. And I'm thinking, this stuff is tough. But we're making our way through it. Well, the Jeeps, they're not Hummers, they're just the regular Jeeps, try to follow us. And the first one goes and just stops. It's not even heavy enough to push back down on this mesquite. And it just can't. And they're stuck. Now they're trying to get that Jeep off, and we're boom, boom, boom. We get about halfway across this plateau. And we hear this horrible noise. And a branch of mesquite has jammed itself up in the drivetrain. So the axle has got this mesquite in there, and we're stuck. and they've basically have ground mounted, and they're trying to work their way through on foot because now we're stuck. So they're coming after us. I get two guys. They start taking their e-tool, their shovels, and they start chopping and chopping and chopping at this mesquite, and they're getting nowhere fast. They're getting somewhere. And I've got this guy underneath the Hummer just beating this mesquite branch, and all of a sudden you hear crack, 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 and the whole thing drops on him. And we're all just like, bug eye, holy crap, what just happened? Well, between the mesquite, the big freaking tires of the Hummer, and everything else, he just, crawls out from underneath it and says, let's go. And so we make it all the way off. We get off the top of this bluff, and we take back off and join up with the rest of the platoon. It was a very, very bizarre, basically 3 days. All of this happened within 3 days of each other. So, massive bar fight, mount training insanity, and Bob trying to be Evel Knievel with a Hummer. I'm glad I got to experience it. I don't ever want to do any of that stuff again. So, Fort Ord, California. It was a unique time to be a Bob. All true stories. That's what's the scariest of it all. All right, finish your coffee. And I'll get this out to you so that you can enjoy, a cup of coffee break, and then get back to work.